Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. Today we've got another exciting home theater from the Florida Home Theater Tour. And I believe this home theater will resonate with a lot of you guys because not everyone has the luxury of having a dedicated theater room in their home. We'll look at all of his home theater equipment, talk about his journey, as well as some challenges that he faced setting up his home theater. But before we jump into the video, I want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, M-Wave. M-Wave is radically different than any other AV event that you have ever attended. Join us July the 22nd through the 24th in Lawrence, Kansas for an exciting weekend of connecting with other AV enthusiasts, audio and video demos, and some good old Kansas City barbecue. Experience RTJ's Tower of Power, Martin Logan's flagship Neolith speakers, and participate in a blind amplifier and projector shootout. New gold and platinum VIP options will be announced soon, as well as virtual tickets for those that can't make it in person. Sign up for the M-Wave newsletter to be the first to be notified. Visit MidwestAVExperience.com for tickets and complete details. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Youthman. Today, as you can see, I'm not in my home theater, but I'm in my friend Nikita's home theater. Now, I think this video is going to resonate with a lot of you because, as you can see, we're not in a dedicated theater room. And a lot of you that have home theaters or want a home theater, you don't have a dedicated room or a dedicated home theater space to be able to have one. And so we're gonna be talking about all of Nikita's gear. We're gonna talk about a lot of challenges that you've run into, some things that you have had to overcome. We're gonna talk about your journey with home theater and kind of where that passion originated, as well as some future desires and upgrades in your system. So hope you guys are gonna enjoy this video. I think you will. So Nikita, thanks so much for inviting me into your beautiful home, man. This is definitely representative of what a lot of people have to work with. And so kind of describe like what space we're in, maybe the size room, and then we can go into the gear and your story later on in the video.
Oh, thank you, Michael. So we're in the classic, what I would hopefully say classic house that they'll build today in Florida.
Sure.
So everybody, watched enough HGTV and other home building that they wanted open concept. And the reason why you want that is you want to spend time with family, right?
Yep.
You don't want those designated rooms. So what you have is kind of similar to what I've seen when we built this house. Through a regular builder. This is not a custom home or anything.
Yeah.
This is pretty much what all of them looked like. There's some living room, there's a kitchen, there's a breakfast, and some TV area.
Sure.
So that's all I had. In fact, my TV area used to be here, and
Right.
I won the battle to get this area. You will see up later in the shots of why that was a big deal for me, and
Sure.
it turned out better for the sound. And it turned out better for the experience. And wife was part of the journey as well, because
cool.
she's got a say in some of this as well.
Yes.
And I want a pleasant experience when I'm in my home rather than having a dedicated room.
Sure. And you even got an office that you've even considered, even got some advice from people, hey, why don't you do it in there? And so one of the biggest thoughts of, I want to keep it out here is because I've got a wife, I've got a daughter, and we want to make sure that we spend quality time and family time together. And this room is probably gets used the most in your home.
It does. And I would say, through this journey, right, the installers were here helping me out in some of the things that my wife preferred me not to do.
Yeah.
Every time they're here, they walk by my home office and they're like, Nikita, what you want to do really would be perfect if you just take all your gear and move it to this office. Right. And, I probably wouldn't use it as much.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't say I would use it as much, only watch a couple, big, large format, I would say, movies
Sure.
a month, if that. Just because life got busier with a kid, and but because this is here, I use it so much.
Sure.
My family uses it, so I'll tell you an actually interesting anecdote. We were just coming up over the weekend, sitting with my daughter and just, hey, what do we watch?
Right.
And go to Netflix, and there's the Formula One again,
Nice.
and it's in its 4th season. My daughter is 4. And we actually watch it every season together.
Oh, that's awesome. And
So-
she's enjoying it.
and
So
she's enjoying
getting
it.
as much enjoyment as
that-
you are.
And now that my system is tuned, I'm hearing a much better, I'm sure the mix got better as well. But she's enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the system, no matter where I sit on this couch as well. So
Sure.
there's a lot of family enjoyment, and me and my wife watch shows and movies. Some of it is during the day and the weekend where you can kind of tune it, turn it up.
Sure.
Some of it is in the evening. My toddler is sleeping. I gotta have good dialogue clarity. I gotta have good experience and still enjoy my movies or TV shows.
Sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at your gear. We'll actually step over and walk through all of your equipment. We'll talk about the speakers. We'll talk about your lighting. We'll go through your Atmos speakers and some of the decisions and the challenges that you faced in that and where you were going to place them and some things that you've learned along the way as well. All right, Nikita, you've got some beautiful speakers here. Kind of walk us through what you've got here. We'll focus on the front soundstage, and then we'll kind of talk about the Atmos speakers and your surrounds after we get done with kind of what's up here going on.
Sounds great. So I'll start just kind of where we ended up at this stage, and I'm in a great stage. Because we got the Paradigm Persona. This is their flagship, but this is the smallest of their flagship towers. These are the 3Fs.
Gotcha.
And this is their Persona Center. And this is the only center they make. So there's actually a story about that. Right. First, when we were kind of upgrading as part of this journey, I didn't have a center channel.
Yeah. So you're using like a Phantom center at that point.
I was using a Phantom. I was coming from a different system, and I was not happy with its performance. Went to listen to a couple options. I actually came there looking for a white speaker, and Paradigm made speakers in white. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get those. They had like nice little silver cones. We started listening A and B, brought my wife out, and she's listening with me, and she's like, oh yeah, definitely these.
So she wanted the nice ones.
So we ended up with these. These are, I mean, they go crazier and bigger. But for us, for our living room and where this is and how loud I actually played them, these are fantastic. But I couldn't get the center, and my cabinet didn't fit it, and also, the budget just didn't fit it as well at that time. And I kept hoping they would make something smaller to maybe fit my old cabinet. I ended up using it over there to put my coffee machine on now. And the story was, hey, we'll just go without the center channel. Maybe they'll come out with a smaller one. Hey, save up and budget for it, and eventually end up getting it. And the difference is amazing. So that's one of the journeys, right now, getting, what I call, for me, at least in my stage in life, my flagship system, having these three be matched and how they sound fantastic, and how much effects. Phantom was great when I sit dead center. But as my family grew, I start moving around the couch, whether I like it or not. And you lose that Phantom center very quickly. And I realized just how much this speaker does. I know it did a lot. I had great Phantom from these for a while, and they did me well, but now I'm even happier because the effects move exactly. So it's definitely one of my tips is, focus here first. We'll see the crazy speakers around the room later, but this is, I think, was most important. And because this is a living room, there's glass, and we want to enjoy it during the day. Projector is just not an option, or at least at the degree and maybe level of some of the projectors, or short throw wasn't in the picture yet. I just don't see this stage. We've decided that, hey, this is going to be our home for a while. So now we can start investing in other things. But for now, it's going to be a TV, but now with a bigger cabinet. We notice optically it looks kind of small.
It looks awesome, man.
But the beautiful have everything is matching, but we want to go, obviously bigger on the TV side.
The display.
But you can only need to go so big because we only sit in the living room here. This is 9 feet from my listening position. So for me, going ultra, huge screen for the immersion. I wear glasses. I don't have as much of that, luxury, and I gotta be able to watch the TV during the day with my daughter. So.
Well, definitely. One thing I love about your journey, and you kind of alluded to it, is the fact that you didn't just go out and get this all at once. It was one of these things where you had to wait a little while. You had to save up. You had to look for good deals, and then just kind of pace yourself and enjoy what you have, begin to work towards where you're wanting to go ultimately, and then just don't be afraid to kind of build that over time. And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people building a home theater or even a living room home theater, they don't realize that, man, this thing's going to be a journey, and just enjoy the journey. And I think you've had a really cool journey as we've had a lot of conversation over that. So what kind of TV do you have?
This is probably about 4 or 5 years old. It's, you know, LG. I think it's a B7 model. It's a 65-inch, which I know looks like a 50, just because this thing's got wider.
Enormous.
Yeah, this center channel is huge. Yeah. This cabinet, I think it's like 81 inches. I mean, an 83-inch TV will still not fit this space.
That's awesome.
Now that's something we want to do because we want to get it flush mounted, right? We want to do maybe something more interesting with the wall here. We'll talk about acoustics later. Yeah. You know, we got to make sure that it looks beautiful and pleasing because it's the center of our home. I want to look at it and show you what it looks like as well. So yeah, this is 65 LG OLED. I think they're, you know, second from the bottom. It's not their highest end. Yeah. But you know, going from an LCD that I had before, I used to have a plasma back in my old place. Yeah. Me and my wife got together, built this house, and we've upgraded to the LG OLED, and I'm definitely going to be in the OLED train for a while here. Right. And because you don't see it right now, right behind it is the kitchen. So during the day, I'm sitting here. You know, I'll see my pantry door right smack in the middle of my screen. If there was an LCD, it would actually be worse, right? But for me, in the evening, it's even more impactful because you got can lights and other lighting. So you start talking about home theater, there's audio stuff, but there's also lighting. Yeah. Right. So getting an automation to turn off the lights behind it in the kitchen, because you'll sit down, you know, you grab a snack, you just, you know, you're on the couch, you don't have cup holder seats, you just sit down, you realize I left the kitchen light on, so you got to get up. So I started automating and adding just digital switches to be able to tap that and turn it off from the phone. That way I don't see the reflection. And then we added a couple more of these kind of LED lights over time as well.
So we'll definitely look at just the lighting in particular too, because you've got some cool accent lights. I know you can change all the colors. I'd love to be able to dive into that as well. So looking underneath, you've got this new cabinet, like you said. We needed something kind of shorter that would fit this monster of a center channel. What do we have going on inside the cabinet?
And this is just recent, right? So we got the center channel. So with the center channel, couldn't fit in my old cabinet. Had to TV mount the TV now. So then I had to move all my gear wider and lower.
Yeah, like where does it go?
So where does it go? So we started on this side. Okay. Right here, you can open that up. We got an Anthem MRX1140. Nice. So that works well. I mean, it's in-house brand with Paradigm. I had an Onkyo. It was fantastic. I had a Denon. It was all right, but over time, you know, I wanted more separation. We'll talk about the Dolby Atmos and the surround system here. When I got the Anthem, and the tuning capability step up, right? I mean, it was.
And they have their proprietary ARC, so that's Anthem Room Correction.
Yep, so we have the MRX1140, that's kind of the brains of the system here, and really happy with that. I think that has 11 channels, right? And that's powering some of my Heights channels, and then the rest is actually, and that's just being cooled over there, and then there's a power conditioner right on top of it. And I actually had to sandwich it in. It all didn't fit. The new cabinet was just half an inch too short. Gotcha. So we had to just get creative with the feet to put it all in, because the power conditioner didn't need as much cooling. It doesn't even have any vent holes. So. Gotcha. And then there's a cooling unit right above the Anthem, because it does have internal amps and it could use some extra cooling. But the doors are slatted. If these doors were closed, I'd be worried. Yeah. So the doors are slatted. The cabinet is lifted up. It's got venting underneath. So for me, you know, this BDI cabinet worked out. Cool. And my wife loves what it looks like, and I love what it looks like. You've got a kind of gray and white silver with a little bit of, you know, tones here in the house. So this definitely worked out for us. Nice. So that's there. Here there's just some Xbox and Apple TV and all kind of being in a mess here. And then the power of the system here is the Monolith 7 channel. Yeah. The Monolith 7 channel is 200 watts. It's got XLR inputs. You know, I got it right as they made that version too. I mean, and I had this only when I had the left and right. Okay. So when I had the left and right and begun my ceiling journey, we'll talk about that in a minute. This was powering more and more and more of my other channels in my system. Sure.
So kind of instead of, you know, starting off with a 2-channel and then later on having to upgrade, you already kind of knew where you were headed with your system, so you went ahead and got a 7-channel amplifier, figured I could power most of my bed layer with that, and then use the internal amplification from the Anthem to power the Atmos speakers. Is that kind of how you have it set up?
So I actually started with, you know, we got it to this house, and I knew I wanted to go Atmos. I got a Denon 4400.
Yep.
It's a 9-channel amp itself.
Sure.
I know I wanted a little bit more power for these guys, and so I got that Anthem. So I got the Monolith first.
Okay.
As I started to grow my system, I added more and more channels, but this is 92 pounds.
Yeah, it's a beast.
So it actually barely fits the spec of this cabinet. Luckily, it's right under that leg, and everything is fine. But it is powering everything just fine.
Cool.
I mean, in this room, how I have it here, I'm yet to run out of any headroom or anything like that at this time. Is there more toys and bling I want in some form? Yeah, but it's always now been about, Michael, prioritizing the kind of stack ranking the upgrade list.
Sure. Yep.
Right, and we'll talk about kind of what's next in this journey.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about?
So next, I think let's talk about your subwoofer since it's up here in the front.
So the subwoofer is actually where we started in the upgrades in my house. So we got here, the home theater was actually over there where the dining room is now. And there is a reason why there is a painting there, because everything was actually pre-wired.
Gotcha.
So as we're building the home, I'm running around, trying to bribe the contractors to go run the extra cables for a 7.4 Atmos system. Now that's all over there. So we had to redo it all the way here.
Right.
And the reason is you'll see it pan up here. The good news is that's in the corner, and it really just wasn't getting great sound.
Yeah.
So one of the first things we did is we went to an audio store locally here. I said, I need a better amp. My amp was just bottoming out, not working well. And we got this GoldenEar, I think it's called SuperSub XXL. It's the biggest one they make.
Right.
And it's radiating panels. It's got two 12s. It's got a radiator panel on top and down.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's actually radiating sound everywhere.
Yeah.
And then increasing its capability to deliver as much sound. Because we got this room is area.
Right.
It's probably 20. This wall is 12 by 12.
Okay.
I'm sitting about 9. So let's just call this, roughly 15 by 15. Round up the hallway. I got 3 rooms of 20 feet by 20 feet here. This is a lot of error. So am I going to get that super ultra low? No, I have to get subs that are probably this big. Wouldn't look good here. But this thing now, one of the biggest upgrades was actually software. With the ARC, with the new upgrade, with phase alignment that it does automatically, I thought I had it right. I thought I had it good, watched all the YouTube channels, got that separate, I got ARC, but I got a separate REW, was trying to do it myself. This thing in 5 minutes had the best sub out of my entire system. So software has been great here.
And that's even a good thought too, is the fact that tweaking and the settings alone inside our AVR or processor can make a huge difference in what we perceive as good sound or how it interacts with our room. And so just not being afraid to kind of tweak those and go down that rabbit hole of, let me try some different crossover settings. Let me look at REW and see what's really happening in my room. Those things definitely can go a long way in the enjoyment factor of our setup.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the Anthem. It's got its ARC system. It allows me to have multiple profiles.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that I actually have a hybrid system going right now. I have a profile for night actually that kills the sub, rolls off the bass a little faster, and I can watch that profile at night. Now, my wife doesn't know it's happening because it's all happening really fast on my phone. I'm not up to the automation yet. I'm too much of a tweaker myself with settings, but I'm getting there because I want my lights. I just want a one-button solution. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
The Anthem lets me play with that. It's got so many features that I can toggle and profiles. So I can have, here's the profile that it did, and here's all of my little tweaks to it. And I can get to play with different things. And before even REW, it's got a quick measure. So I can say, hey, where's the sub best at?
Gotcha.
And I think last time you were here, I said I just finished a tour of the sub, moving around the room. One of it was just looking at measurements. There's specific nulls over here versus over here. And I thought I needed a perfect room to have nulls. Now this is as not perfect a room as possible, and it still has its pros and cons. But here it's got its biggest boost in the lowest of the frequencies, and it's got the best kind of loading off of this wall that's closest here. So it's getting a good performance, and now that it's finally magically software time aligned to everything, I'm in good enough point where I thought I needed 2 subs and more gear is better.
Nice.
Now subs are stacked rank at the bottom of the upgrade list now. So.
And again, it goes back to calibration. Proper calibration oftentimes will trump new gear, bigger gear, or adding even more than what you have currently. So Nikita, one thing that you mentioned is that you actually moved your home theater from over here, which used to be the living room, and this was the dining room, and it's got this beautiful tray area up here. But what made you want to move over to this location?
Yeah, so originally and the house design plans were dining room, living room, breakfast room. Sure. Why would you want to have breakfast right next to dining? That doesn't make sense.
We do that in Florida. Mine has it too.
Yeah, you're going to have a breakfast here and dining room here, and there's rhyme and a reason to that at a whole different level of our conversation. But the reason why we've started over there, I had my TV there, I had my TV pre-wire, I had my speakers speaker wire pre-run. Right. Didn't cut into ceiling yet, and we said, hey, let's give it a try. And I had my eye on this area even when we were building the house, and I've put in pre-wire for some lighting because we knew we were going to put a nice little tree ceiling. I always wanted that kind of backlit experience there. So we ended up doing the pre-wire for just a regular outlet. Okay. It hit just perfectly behind the tree ceiling. And I was always into LEDs, so I was into surround and LEDs all the time, and software, so I love geeking out over my receiver. Yeah. So we ended up doing that. But the other thing is this tree ceiling adds at least 2 more feet to my ceiling. Correct. So Atmos was coming out right as I was, as we were starting to build this house. I was really, really getting into, hey, Atmos is here, it's gonna stay, more and more content is showing up. I knew I wanted to experiment it, and you want to add that height because I knew practically I couldn't get away with lower channel speakers. I tried speakers in, just sitting on side tables. It's just always too close. Yeah. That was before family. Now there's no way I'd put
kids will knock it over.
No way I'd put a bookshelf on the speaker stand behind the couch here in the middle of this living room. It just wouldn't work. And sonically, I just never liked the sound of it. Gotcha. So I'm stuck knowing that I needed to do in-ceiling surrounds. Yeah. How do you do in-ceiling surrounds with in-ceiling Atmos? Everybody I talked to said, you're nuts, like don't waste your money.
It's definitely a different approach. But again, you're working with limitations here, and how do you get by those limitations and still have a great Atmos experience?
Yep. So one of the things where we started with, because we moved here before I had this, we moved the home theater here, is one, because this was the darker part of the house. Yeah. So it worked out perfect that the dining room table was actually a lot better for daytime gatherings to be closer to the windows. Sure. And the TV as far away from the windows as possible. Gotcha. So this was fantastic here. Sure, I got the kitchen in the back, but I also had double, sliding doors in the back over there. So I'm actually way better off here, both for the TV and for the sound, because over there I had a really close boundary right here. Right. Now I'm getting at least 2 or 3 more feet of extra space here in this area. So we started with moving here and said, hey, this sounds better, looks better, the TV is better, and we kind of said, let's keep it here. Right. Now I was like, game on. Yeah. So first thing went in my surround speakers. Okay. And Michael, this is where my trouble in planning started. I always had trouble getting good surround speakers in the ceiling, or making a good decision of where to place them. And this is where I continue to say, yeah, learn from my experience. For some reason, younger Nikita thought that if you're only going to have one pair, you're going to put them kind of behind you. Now, younger Nikita should have realized that it's not going to stop with just one pair of speakers. Yeah. So what ended up happening is we had those speakers there, and that was an older system with a different speaker. Okay. When I went to Paradigm here, I said, hey, I want to get something more matching. I never just got that great effect in the back. And I had like 11-inch holes already.
That's a big hole.
And they said the only speaker we have that fits 11-inch is actually our angled series, and we put that on front, if somebody's doing an only in-ceiling. Yeah. And I said, you know what, that's actually perfect because they're kind of not in the right spots. Yeah. And if you got so what I have there is Paradigm Elite E80R, so they're 8 inches. Gotcha. And they're angled. Right. So I think they're 880As, so they're actually 30 degrees angled. Okay. So I can rotate them. Nice. I can't change the angle because they're kind of like a molded baffle there, but it allowed me to kind of tow them in. And I said, that's great. still not getting the right sound. I was like, all right, well, you know, really wanted Atmos. And this is where the double tray ceiling really came in.
Right.
Handy is that I can actually go forward and a couple feet up from that position and cut into speakers. So it started there.
Right.
Didn't sound good.
So another roadblock.
Another roadblock. It says, okay, still not getting that envelopment. And now, you know, me with a lot more just research, right? Looking at just better guides, speaker layouts, and just watching the hobby on YouTube and learning from channels like yours.
Sure.
Well, what's the challenge is? The challenge is those rear speakers, not only they're behind me that was using a surround, they're actually almost inside of my left and right. So they were actually never positioned correctly. They were they're even still out of spec of rear, surround rears. But that's okay. Let's keep them there. I said, let's add a couple more speakers.
No more holes.
No more holes was what my wife said. Didn't listen. So one day, without an approval, I said, let's add a couple more holes.
Oh, mercy.
So I said, you know, the Atmos speaker here, you know, I got two. They're kind of blending in over there. You know, I need to add more. Yeah. Because this is what this hobby does.
Yeah,
it's so we've added two more up here, and I used the angled ones to kind of angle it down. Before I did that, I said, you know, I got one shot at a hole in the ceiling. Yeah. So I took SketchUp and actually built out a model using Dolby's guide on their website, which I learned actually isn't that great. Go read like the Trinup guide, go spend a little bit more time investing into other people in the industry that have done tuning and, you know, home theater designs, and learned that the guide is actually wrong in some of the positioning, but at least it is by the guide. So I said, let me add top fronts. Okay. So I had top middle. Gotcha. That was okay. Added top fronts. And then I added wider surrounds. Okay. So this is actually what made the biggest difference in my home theater. Right. It really wasn't even adding top fronts. This was good. Sure. The challenge is, again, they're too close to the front, and being angled, they actually blend in with the soundstage a little bit. Gotcha. That's okay. I think a lot of it just came down to the challenge of I picked the best speakers I could to put up there, and they're so good. They're so good they actually fill in the sound a little too much. Okay. So the bubble becomes just one ball of sound rather than that. So what I started to do is actually change them and angle them. So now that I've got them angled just a little bit out instead of pointing right at my seating position, they don't blend in with the left and right. Gotcha. So it's all in tweaking. That tweak didn't cost money because I already got the most expensive InCeiling speakers that come there. Right. And it turns out they're actually too good and they sound like they're coming from up here. Gotcha. I can go on my amplifier, switch to XLR from RCA, and hear just my height. Okay. And I was able to say, hey, hold on. Let me change the sound of them so they just don't sound as they're coming from up high. So the other thing I did is we knew the backs were in the wrong spot. I said, I needed proper surrounds. Started reading the guide, said, okay, young Nikita, all right, let's go left and right of the couch. Okay. And that's where we did, again, the angled speakers, because I can't do anything lower, to bring that soundstage lower. And I said, let's go as wide as we can, and let's go as wide as we can on the sides and move them forward of the surround rears. Right. And that finally did the trick, right? Adding those proper surround channels provided more of that envelopment. I can hear a race car coming correctly. Yeah, does it move a little bit further up? Sure. But I know I can't get anything down here, so this is the best I could do. Awesome. And it's still worth it. Yeah. Yeah. The installers were like, you know, Nikita, grab all this gear, let's go to your home office and set it up over there, get proper bed layer, you're gonna get that Atmos effect you're after. I said, yeah, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much with my family. That's awesome, man. And again, it's just one of those things where you've got limitations in your room. What can I do? What are the challenges and how can we overcome that? And I think you've done a great job. And we've done plenty of demos in here, music as well as movies. And absolutely, I mean, you probably still have a home theater that's better than probably 95% of people in pretty much in the world, you know. And so even if you've got a living room space, you can definitely have a killer home theater setup. And I love it, man. All right, so Nikita, let's talk about seating. And I noticed you've got like a big rug here. Your choices for that, very modern feel in this room. So kind of talk us through that. Yeah, we wanted something that's you know, more like us. You know, we feel like we're still young, so we wanted to have a home that looks you know, little bit more modern and fresh, and furniture shopping is really hard.
Yeah.
So finding the colors and palette now, everything does look now pretty silver, white, and gray, but we do get pops of color where we want. And part of that was let's add lighting, let's add kind of accessories here and there. These are we can go seasonal with pillows and stuff like that, but. The couch, we had my old couch from my old place. It was literally a love seat with an electric recliner, and that's okay. And as our family grew and our needs grew, we've kind of got a new couch. So this is not traditional home theater seating. I did end up getting a little insert with a cup holder.
Nice.
It just doesn't work.
Oh, funny.
Because it's just, I wouldn't say it's too wobbly.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work because if we're sitting here and my wife wants to be here because that, was her spot at one time. Now she prefers this one. The baby prefers this one.
Right.
We're all kind of mixing up or changing. If my daughter is watching TV, she's watching it here. This is again where that's that center channel investment came in handy because now, we're 9 feet away. We're not 5 feet away. So if I sit here, I'm way off center point. So great dispersion on the speaker, so everybody gets a great sound. The other thing about this couch, it kind of said it's modern. It's got this thing that can recline because this is it's in the middle of. This is almost say over there is about dead center of this whole space.
Right.
So you don't want something high neck, obtrusive. So home theater seating was just out of the question. But this is as close as I can get because I can still get pretty good recline. I can still get comfortable. Put a snack. Find a place for a drink somewhere nearby. To park it and still have a great view. Now there's a couple challenges with that is that because now this is kind of low. In my old cabinet was from my old house. My old house, I was sitting 20, 25 feet away from this 50, almost, it feels like a 30-foot wall. I'm sure it wasn't that wide. But it was higher, had a center channel built in. So TV was always high. You had to recline for it to be comfortable. Which didn't fit a lot of the new kind of family configuration that I had. Because you want to, this still takes time. So you want to quickly get up. You want to cater to the baby or get something for your guest. It takes time to get off. So a lot of times this isn't as reclined unless you're really into the zone of a movie. So being this low, one of the challenges we had is. The cabinet was just too high, which meant the TV was too high. This new center channel is huge. Doesn't fit the cabinet, so we needed a new cabinet that was lower.
So we got low profile.
It's called BDI Align. It's their I think 7449 model, but it's the lower one with media cabinets. And I think your YouTube channel with where you showed the sliding.
That's great.
I said, my wife was like, yeah, you're always going to be behind that thing. And she saw me try to lift the 400-pound salamander. I can only do one corner with a 92-pound center power amplifier on the left. The center channel is like 84 pounds. I knew I was not going to be able to move it. She said, get the one with the wheels. And it looks-wise, it turned out great, and it adds extra lift, and it's got the ventilation. It worked out perfect. And it allows me to bring the TV lower. It's a couple inches. Probably like. I don't even know how many inches, but every inch counts here. And as we're going to go bigger with the TV, we also wanted to make sure it's as low as it can get. So we got it on articulating mount for now. We want to go flat, as big of a TV as can, and have the center channel just barely clear it because we have to be as low as we can be here with that. So I'm really happy about that.
So another thing, like I mentioned earlier, in this room, and we're going to talk about acoustics in here because you've got some challenges there and some future plans for treating the room, but you have put down a really thick plush carpet, and so that's going to help some of those reflections that are happening on the floor, as well as just add some decor and nice little vibe there.
So we did a rug, and my wife's been with me on this journey, and she's kind of as we picking out things, with the media cabinet. We went to again furniture shopping is hard. Finding something you like, finding something that fits gear. I think everybody that's into AV, unless you have a really entry level AV receiver, it's got specific depth. You need something 18 19 inches deep. This cabinet is not. It's still 18. I got gear hanging off the back. Now, it's pushed up. It's hidden enough.
Sure.
You know, the stuff that's sticking out is kind of low.
Gotcha.
But I knew that going in.
Yep.
So the next thing that we had here when we got the left and right speaker and we moved here, we said, hey, we need the rug. Let's get something that's you know, kid friendly. But we need it to be kind of, you know, thick. And I said, what's thick? Well, shag rug. I don't know if they still sell those,
That's
but
hilarious.
this is the closest we got to that.
Yeah.
And you know, it adds
Like it.
to that. Now, this space is big. I love Florida homes, but space is almost too big where, you know, you get to this place where it's hard to find big rugs.
Right.
So we got one in the living room over there, the dining room. We got this one in the living room. We're always on the lookout for something that, you know, can be thick, can be family friendly.
Sure.
It's a challenge, but because everything else here is tile.
Right.
So the first acoustical
surface,
thing is I got a ton of tile here. So this helps a little bit, at least in this immediate direct position. Now that there's finally a center channel here, you know, there's a little bit of still that bounce. Because I got to tell you, probably 80% of the time, this is folded in.
Right.
You know, you're sitting pretty much kind of upright. We got a little footrest stool that kind of goes in here, just so as you know, everyday family dynamic is, you know, kids moving in, you're always picking up something.
Sure.
So this is a very active area. So it's nice to have even that. That footstool, it's not like a leather cover, it's not a coffee table, it's something that's pretty soft as a surface. That's not reflective both visually and acoustically.
Sure. Probably the next thing let's talk about your lighting in this room, because you got some really cool stuff happening with that.
So Michael, one of the other things that I realized was so important in home theater is I always loved surround sound and I always loved LEDs.
Yeah.
So I had to get some LEDs, but before even LEDs, I want to talk about the location here. We talked about the TV. It's an OLED. I don't think I'm ever trading out of the OLED to another technology, but if you sit here, I don't know if the camera will pick it up.
Yeah.
If I get up and get something in the kitchen,
I gotcha.
I want to be able to turn off that light if I forgot to hit the switch.
Yep.
So I went with Lutron Cassetta. It was something I could do as a homeowner. You know, maybe next house we'll get more professional system.
Yeah.
For now, I want to be able to do, you know, everyman stuff and be able to go get, you know, those light switches and go and upgrade one at a time as I need to, program it myself. You know, they have their own app, but now everything is on my HomeKit. So, you know, my wife can operate it as well. So if she wants to, you know, we got patio lights and things like that now kind of hooked in, you know, my garage lights up front, you know, are automatically scheduled.
Nice.
And that's a system that's, you know, you can go get it, you know, Best Buy, Amazon, whatever, cheap, you know, that's, you know, affordable to get. Now LED lighting as well, you know, I went with, I always had, you know, just a bunch of cheap Amazon bands, you know. In my old home, I had, you know, just stuff behind a couch. It looked like a man cave. Right. But you get the lights down, you wanted some, you know, lighting because you don't want to turn up the lights again and get your eyes readjusting. So I always learned that, hey, I wanted to have some theater lighting.
Right.
So in this home, I started to slowly build out my Hue system, and I started with their LED strip.
Okay.
But, you know, this would have been an expensive ceiling to run a Hue system altogether. Anything more professional, even higher than this. So I said, where can I start just hobbyist level?
Right, sure.
So I got the Hue strip, and I said, hey, the Hue controller, and the older version was just RGB. I said, you know, all my other light strips are RGB.
Right.
Let me do some tinkering. You know, yeah, I can get into Arduino and build my own light controller. I can. I don't want my wife to have that experience.
Sure.
So there's, you know, an app that Hue has, you know, Phillips Hue. So it started with just a light strip.
Okay.
And I basically backed the Hue controller into my existing light strip.
Gotcha.
And that's it. So no more of that, like find the IR eye over there or something. You know, they make infrared, but you really want an app.
Yep.
So started with the app there. Funny enough, the TV backlight, very controversial. This was actually the last add-on.
Gotcha.
Where we went next is we got these two beautiful arches here.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, it'd be really cool to put a strip there.
Yeah.
Hue actually has just light bulbs.
Okay.
So what I can do is we can go in and at night, so this is where home theater in the living room and some of this light automation also plays into the family.
Okay.
So my daughter's room has a Hue bulb.
Gotcha.
So I can go from reading, nighttime, or I don't want to go to sleep. I'm like, well, how about you pick your own light and then you go to sleep. So so we started even with that.
Cool.
And I think just last holiday season we got in and I said, hey, let me do this mode. So I had the whole Christmas theme going.
Yeah.
Added the lights here.
Sure.
I added the dining can lights as well over there. And now all of this kind of works together.
Yeah.
And now I can have, you know, I got to work more on my scenes. That way it's one button. Hey, this is, you know, my daughter's going bad time.
Right.
Great. This is going to go dim down.
Gotcha.
That's going to go dim down.
Right.
Or it's movie watching mode and it's going to go, you know, more reds or something, you know. I like the little cool fun purples, but you know, really for movie watching, it allows me to experiment and be able to have, you know, scenes or colors and things like that I want to be able to change.
Right.
And address to the kind of the mood of the movie or a specific experience. Obviously, this comes in handy in parties because in the party, again, you know, this is not my home theater tucked away somewhere in the guest room. You know, everybody is always enjoying it here. There's music playing. There's, you know, cool lights. You know, so I've been really enjoying the space, and that's I think one of the benefits of, you know, having your primary living room media system be maybe the better one.
Gotcha. Super cool, man. I love how you've integrated that. So you're using HomeKit.
Yeah, so I'm using HomeKit for most of the cassette lights, for the actual color changes in my Phillips Hue. I still go to their app. I just, for some reason, prefer it.
Sure.
I'm sure there's something I can learn or tips if I just spend enough. I love YouTube. Yeah. Spending time, I'm sure I'll find somebody on HomeKit that's like, oh man, come on, you can do the colors in HomeKit.
Right.
I think I can. I just, for some reason, prefer the sliders better on the Phillips Hue. But the next level is actual automation where I can basically
hit
push
a button and then
probably like a home scene in HomeKit that says theater, go in bed time. That way I'm not like punching through, you know, 2 or 3 lights
menus and
or messing through the menus.
Sure. Well, cool. So we've got speakers. We've talked about your equipment. We've talked about your lighting. And so probably the next thing, and that's probably going to be a big discussion, and you probably heard it a lot in this video, is acoustics. We do have a lot of hard surfaces in this room, so we'll dive into kind of what your plans are for the acoustic treatments for this room.
Perfect. Well, I can already hear the comments even from the first teaser shots of this home theater, because you start with, you know, these are premium speakers, you know, stuff that you probably see, you know, you always have people making fun of like, oh, like this is the gallery shot of the sound system. Yeah. Because there's no audio treatments, there may be positioned wrong, or should this be like 3 feet into the room? Well, they're about 1.5 feet here, right? And I have measurement mic and my own listening ears. If I can't tell the difference, I can't tell the difference. You know, should this center channel be hanging over the front of it? If it was, I think it's actually going to break the cabinet. But, so I got to get realistic. I'm actually padding the cabinet. So there's a lot of tuning you can do. But one of the most obvious tuning things here probably is the fact, and maybe the mic is picking it up, is just how loud and echoey this is. So it is bright. It's, you know, probably, I see a corner right dead over there. That's, I'm just going to guess 30 or so feet from me, where I'm hearing my voice coming from. So a lot of the, you know, the issues with my sound, I mean, the next stage, now that we've, you know, while I've decided, okay, this is going to be our house for a while. Now I can start investing in, you know, more serious upgrades here. We didn't know what we're going to do with the cabinet, if I'm going to get a center channel, not. Now that we're kind of gelling into, okay, there'll be a larger TV here, it'll be flush mount, a little bit better acoustics, maybe. But now we can maybe treat this wall. Because I'm sure some of that sound, some of these directional speakers in the back are probably coming into this space. There's a big wall over here, right? Well, it's good that it's not immediate like the window where the old living room was supposed to be. I'm sure this is affecting. The sub is loving that wall, but maybe not my
channel. Get some boundary gain there.
Because my left center, my left surround speaker, just I have to boost it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like I'm OCD, so I'm like, no, this is the measurement. I can hear it, but if I can't hear the sound,
your brain tells you. Yeah.
Your brain tells you. Like my height speakers, they're about 4 to 5 dB sometimes up.
Yeah.
Do they need to be? No, and the spec didn't tell them to be.
Sure.
That's not how the director intended it. But if I can't hear the effect, so I've got a profile that I can lift them up if I need to. So the next evolution here is going to be, sound treatments, potentially behind here. I know I need my first reflection treated here. Can we get a bigger carpet to take
bigger
some
rug,
of
or maybe
this,
some over there. Yep.
some of that here? Can we get another kind of longer running rug in the tile area where the actual bed layer in the ceiling speakers are? Because some of them are actually, bouncing probably right off that.
Sure, those hard surfaces.
Right off those hard surfaces. Can I convince my wife to take that corner and see if there's some sound treatment? Some of this is pretty hard because this is not a traditional home theater room. So you do have the challenge. Into also, I know there's a first reflection point, but there's no guide for Nikita how to do surround, sound treatments in a room that's irregular. It's got, there's a big kitchen island over there. Where do I put panels? Obviously the answer is everywhere in this room. For me to get to that 15-30% absorption, that's a lot of panels.
And it's hard to do. So kind of my wife has always been, she's always told me something's better than nothing. And so I think if you can put some panels in those key areas, and the good thing is there's a lot of companies out there that can make panels that are appealing to the eye as well, whether they use decor, fabric, you can get artwork, a lot of different ways. So hopefully you and your wife can come up with something that both of you like, it functions well, tame some of the reflections in this room, and just really takes your home theater even to that next level.
And I'll tell you how to actually, I also had this conversation with my wife, and she's like, I know this room, I can hear it, right? And another place where we can hear it is, if it's just us, or if we having guests over, if guests are over there and everybody's kind of around the kitchen, you hear it.
It's really hard.
So if we can figure out where to add that adds benefit here, but also find those harder to treat areas down in the breakfast area, which is now the kids' room, the kids' play area over there, because she wants to be part of the party too. If we can find places there, it improves also our guests and everyday life experience, not being so echoey in that aspect.
So Nikita, we've looked at your incredible home theater in a living room environment. You said you lived here, roughly 7 years? So if you were to go back maybe 7 years ago, kind of knowing what you know now, I always love asking this question because we typically learn from our mistakes, things that maybe we would do differently. So if you went back 7 years ago, is there anything that you would change in your setup or maybe your approach to this living room home theater?
Yeah, I would say with everything in this hobby, I've learned so much. Like right now, for example, acoustics are next, but I got to do some studying. Got to figure out, look at the panel types, find something that looks good, and experiment. I'm going to have to experiment. There's going to be learning with that too. It's not a perfect room where somebody can look at that and say, first reflection, boom, and you're set because of the uniqueness of the space. So, but there are things that definitely I've learned here is, obviously we talked about the center channel. We talked about, just making sure your front stage, you're happy with that. I had to adjust my seating position with my TV that influenced my media cabinet selection. Those things, probably you could have put together, but you can't put together is, how is it going to sound here? Because one of the, the things here that hopefully is more relatable to folks that don't have a dedicated home theater is, hey, you don't have the lower stage. So if I had to go back 7 years, I wouldn't cut those rear surrounds where they are because they're just in the wrong spot. And an 11-inch hole is an 11-inch hole. You can't fill that up. I literally had to go with speakers. It worked out, but what didn't work out is the position. So what I would have changed for sure would have been moved the surrounds probably you know, if I already made that mistake, or you move into a house and you already have somebody made that mistake, right? They're like, oh, surrounds, we're gonna put them behind the couch. It sounds like where they're supposed to go. One, they're actually too wide where they are. Two, it really forced me to probably have to move my surrounds. I probably would have moved them another foot or two this way.
Gotcha.
And you'll notice over there, the left surround, we had a measure, you know, measure twice, cut once problem.
Right.
We checked that the speaker had enough, you know, it was between the studs, the joists, and the ceiling.
Right.
We didn't figure out is that there was just a beginning of something in the roof line that started it. The speaker just couldn't clear.
Gotcha. So you didn't have enough height.
So we didn't have enough height, so we had to go just one step over.
Right.
And that's an oopsie that's still there. I still got to find you know, a drywall artist that can do the knockdown texture matching.
Sure.
Because would now Nikita love to go and maybe remove some of these speakers? Yeah, but this is such a big area.
Yep.
And the way the light hits, there's no way I could get this right.
Yeah.
So it's a mistake that I'm just going to have to live with. So how I've learned with it, tweaked.
Right.
So
use what you can, angle your speakers, and see if you can improve the performance that way.
Yeah. So definitely make sure that you've got the right separation. If you're going to do 7, make sure you've got the right separation to actually make them different, even if that might mean moving your surrounds a little further up.
Right.
So that's definitely one, you know, along with, you know, not cutting in the rear surrounds where they ended up being.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I'm actually balancing that out right now is in my tuning, is that I'm actually doing in my AVR, I can do multiple channels and multiple profiles.
Okay.
So I've actually taken a wide cable coming out, feeding that speaker, because it's on the outboard. The Monolith is driving those.
Okay.
So instead of rear surrounds, I have a white cable going into them doing rear surrounds and height 3. Now I'm not doing them both at the same time.
Sure.
I'm sure you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
I have 2 profiles. I have a 7.1.4 profile and a 5.1.6 profile.
Gotcha.
So at a push of a button in a movie, my processor will, you know, because it decodes Atmos real time.
Sure.
I can switch between just surrounds and top rear.
Gotcha.
Top middle, front,
Sure.
top. Or I can do the traditional 7.4 system.
Right.
And depending on the movie review, if I know a movie has a lot of active, actual, you know, spatial, you know, I go look for that movie. If I'm going to watch that, first I'm going to get that on disc. I'm not going to stream that one.
Sure.
I'm going to wait and savor that movie.
Yeah.
At this stage in my life, I can't watch Terminator or Transformers.
Yeah.
You know, I got bedtime for the kid. You know. So I got to make sure that, you know, for a big movie, but if I know something special is coming and it's got the Atmos content, I'm actually going to do, you know, maybe the 6 channels.
Gotcha.
If that has more. If I'm watching something more traditional or something like on Netflix that I know is encoded, maybe isn't, you know, didn't get reviewed as well, I'll wait a little bit to get some reviews, right? I'm going to do the traditional one, right? I'm going to do the 7 with the 4, and that still sounds great. You know, just that little bit of 2 feet of separation in the ceiling creates that. But it also, you know, the tray ceiling created that ambience, right? You know, if we were over there in the corner, it would have just felt like in a corner. Here, it's an experience. And that's where I feel like for all the lessons learned, you know, all the evolution over the 7 years just in this space, you know, I'm super happy with how it turned out.
Cool.
Because you do get, you know, kind of in the evening, and you turn down the lights, it is special. And you can create that even if you know, can't put the speakers over here. You don't have the perfect, you know, you should do sound treatments. They're, you know, on my next upgrade list, because it's probably the cheapest thing, you know, bigger TV, That's something that's got to wait for. Something I got to save up for, got to be the right time to buy the TV. I can't go run out and buy the 2022 brand new TV out of the gate, retail. I'll hate myself 9 months later. So I got to make the right decision.
Black Friday's coming up in November, so might be an option there.
So Black Friday, maybe the tail end of 2021, you know, I might have to wait all the way till next Super Bowl for the next year's TVs. We'll see. That makes sense. Until then, we're gonna tweak some, you know, first reflection over here. We'll see, you know, if any of these things, you know, when I get some sound panels here, you betcha I'm gonna put them here and see if they make a difference. If they don't, we'll keep moving around, figuring out. Maybe it's my ceiling. you know, but we're got to experiment. So
awesome. Well, it's been fun just kind of hearing your journey and experiencing a home theater in a living room and realizing that you can do it well. It's not perfect, but my room isn't perfect. I even made a video on my channel called My Room Isn't Perfect, or maybe it was My Room Has Issues. And the reality is we all have issues, whether you've got a dedicated space, whether you have a brand new build. There's always either budget limitations or size limitations, or maybe pre-existing limitations like you have here in your room. But the goal is to try to do the best with what we have. And I've always encouraged you guys, whether you've got a basement, whether you have a bonus room, whether you have a bedroom, we're gonna be seeing all kinds of home theaters here on the Florida Home Theater Tour. We've got some super high-end, uber expensive ones. We've got some budget-friendly ones. We've got DIY. There's a little bit for everybody. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this home theater tour. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you some inspiration on what you could do even in a living room setup. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.